Okay, welcome back. I hope that this video brings some value to you. I'm talking about buying a new home in Utah. So the new construction market here in the state of Utah has been thriving for decades. And with being the state that builds more homes per 1,000 residents than any other state in the nation, the new construction market is definitely worth knowing and understanding and knowing how to navigate that process. And so in this video, I just want to touch on and highlight the things that you really need to look into deeper. And by doing so, you'll be able to be really well prepared in buying a new home here in the state of Utah. And the goal here is to just provide you with the clarity you need if you are indeed considering new construction as a path moving forward. Okay, the first thing you need to know is understanding the new construction market here. You need to know what the popular trends are. What are the local home builders, what are the regional home builders, and the national home builders doing to add to the flavor that is our housing market? And when you know these trends and you understand which are the most popular builders, which are the builders that are attracting the best clients, in other words, which builders are performing at the highest level, which builders are underperforming, which builders are getting the most number of complaints and the most positive or negative reviews, these are things that you really have to dive into. Now, this is something that I've had my finger on the pulse for 2 decades now. I understand fully the new building market here in the state of Utah, and there have definitely been many surprises for me looking from the inside of the market and seeing which builders are performing at a high level and which builders are leaving clients unsatisfied. It's really surprised me over the years, and this is a constantly moving target, which is really cool because what a builder does today might not be what they do tomorrow, but seeing this market play out in real time is something that I'm really an expert with that I would love to guide you with as well. Now, beyond just the builder and the popular trends with respect to what they're building in the state of Utah, you've also got to understand what are the key features that you should be looking for in a new construction home. And of course, at the top of this list are open floor plans, and the floor plan in general is such a crucial component as to how you live in the home and how you enjoy it and utilize it. So that's definitely at the top of the list. But there are other key features as well, including energy efficiency. This is a big one. And lastly, I want to talk about outdoor spaces. One of the biggest trends we're noticing in outdoor spaces is that these outdoor spaces are being utilized and taken advantage of, not only for the larger homes with the single family lots, but also with the condos and the townhomes, oftentimes with rooftop decks or patios or things that really help bring the outdoors inside. This is something worth noting as well. All right, next up, let's talk about briefly just the pros and cons. Buying a new home versus buying an existing home is 2 totally different things. There are pros and cons to each one of those things. One of the pros of getting an established or an existing home is that you don't have to deal with many of the expenses or the unknowns that come along with buying a new construction home. For example, your fencing is probably already done. Your yard is probably fully landscaped. These are things that are less common with new construction, and oftentimes the basement is not finished in a new construction home, whereas with an existing home, it very well may be. So these are definitely added costs, but these are things worth noting and understanding in terms of the pros and cons. As for new construction, the nice thing is everything's new, everything's shiny, everything's something that you can really put your fingerprint on, and knowing that you're the first person or the first family that's lived in that home. And you can truly make it a home as opposed to just buying a house. Now, there's no right or wrong here. There's no one size fits all. Some people are only drawn to the older established neighborhoods, while others are only really truly drawn to the newer developments. So there's definitely something to consider for both. Some people like the advantages of a newer home, but they want to take advantage of the fact that the neighborhood's already built out, so they don't have to hear the construction for the next 2 to 4 years. And so finding a home that's maybe 2 to 3 years old could be very appealing in that the landscaping is done, the basement might be finished, and the construction on that part of the neighborhood is already complete. Regardless of what you're looking for, there are pros and cons to absolutely every single option. Okay, so as we talk about new construction, we can't leave out of the conversation where are the places in Utah that are experiencing the highest level of construction right now. And first, we'll talk about South Jordan, namely the master planned community of Daybreak. This happens to be the neighborhood where I personally reside. It's also one of the fastest growing areas in the state and has been for just about 2 decades now since its inception. And Daybreak in particular is very appealing for so many people that are making the move to Utah, as I take people throughout and show people tours of all the different areas, the areas they're really considering. When I take people into Daybreak, a lot of people just fall in love with it, and that's where they're going to move. So it's not for everybody. I understand it too has pros and cons, but it is an amazing area, and this is one of the fastest growing areas in the state. Other areas that are seeing a ton of new construction. I can't talk about this list without talking about Saratoga Springs. Saratoga Springs is so incredibly well positioned at the northern end of Utah County that it gets to take advantage of the markets up in the Salt Lake County region as well as down in Provo, but really it's tied really closely to the tech corridor right there in Lehigh. So a lot of higher paying jobs are coming to the region, and the home prices in Saratoga Springs are just a little bit more appealing than what you'll find in Salt Lake County. And for this reason and so many more, along with its natural beauty and landscape, Saratoga Springs is thriving with new construction and is one of the places where the most number of new homes are being built. And moving right next door to Saratoga Springs, we have two other cities that top this list, and that's Lehigh to the east and Eagle Mountain to the west. Both of these areas are very uniquely different. Eagle Mountain is very different than Lehigh. Eagle Mountain attracts more people that are looking for more space. It also has a little different vibe, actually quite a bit different than it does in Lehigh. So whether you're looking to live in Lehigh or Saratoga Springs or Eagle Mountain, these are three of the fastest growing areas where the most number of new homes are being built, but you're going to want to talk about the pros and cons of each one of those individually because they are incredibly different one from another. And since we're down in Utah County, let's hit the next one on the list, and that's Provo. Provo is the county seat of Utah County. It is the focal point of all things Utah County, and we can't leave it off this list. It's also seeing a great number of new construction. Now, a lot of the new construction that's happening in Provo is also multifamily. It's the denser housing that every city is experiencing, and this is no different in Provo. So Provo is seeing a lot of new construction, most of which is in the multifamily space, less of which is in the single family home space. Regardless, Provo is evolving and changing right before our eyes and is definitely a hotbed for growth right now in the construction market. All right, next, let's move right back up into Salt Lake County. We already talked about South Jordan, but let's talk about the neighboring cities to South Jordan, to the south in Harriman, as well as to the north in West Jordan. Again, just like Lehigh, Eagle Mountain, and Saratoga Springs, South Jordan, West Jordan, and Harriman all have their own vibes. They are very distinctly different, and it's worth understanding and comparing and contrasting the pros and cons of each of these areas. West Jordan, South Jordan, as well as Harriman to the south are all experiencing incredible growth with a lot of new construction developments, some master plan communities, along with multifamily, especially along the Mountain View Corridor, which is the new freeway that's running all the way through Salt Lake and into Utah counties. It cuts right through the heart of West Jordan, through South Jordan, through Harriman, and down into Saratoga Springs, with connectors cutting through Lehigh to I-15, as well as working its way outward into Eagle Mountain. So this corridor is going to be the focal point for multifamily growth, as well as the commercial growth that's not only happening there in downtown Daybreak, but also in West Jordan as well as Harriman. So Harriman and West Jordan make this list as well. And the next areas that I'm going to talk about in terms of the growth with the most number of homes being built are in the southwest corner of the state in St. George, which is a completely different landscape. It's a completely different market and a different environment altogether. It's got so much appeal that brings people not only into St. George, but the surrounding towns as well. But other areas that are growing incredibly fast are north of Salt Lake in Syracuse and the surrounding towns around Syracuse as well. And lastly, in the Wasatch back, just southeast of Park City, sits Heber City. So Heber City, Syracuse, and St. George are also in this top 10 list for places that are seeing the most new construction growth in the state of Utah. And ultimately what it boils down to is if you need to know any information about any of these cities or any of the other cities in Utah that you might be considering, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that we give you all the guidance you need to clarify exactly where is the best place for you to land. And hey, if we haven't met yet, my name is Scott Steele, and as a local real estate broker who guides people in making the move to and within the state of Utah each and every day, we help people just like you make the move and make that move as smooth as possible. So hit us up. You can find our information in the description below. But let's move on for the time being and talk about a few other things that you really need to know if you're exploring new homes here in the state of Utah. Now, this list is not all inclusive. These are not the only things you need to consider, but these are definitely worth noting and worth talking about. The next thing I want to talk about is energy efficient features. Energy efficiency is a huge part of the economy here in Utah, but it's also a very important part as to how we develop moving forward, so that we're doing so in such a way that is responsible, that we can actually sustain and maintain for many, many years to come. So whether it's solar panels or smart thermostats or other features within the home or better insulation and windows, all of these things play into the role of being a smart home and making sure that it's energy efficient. And this is of crucial importance, especially here in the state of Utah. Next up, if you're navigating the world of new construction, you've got to understand the contracts that the builders put in front of us. So this is where I see so many people make the mistake. So many people walk into a model home, talk to the sales agent that represents the home builder, and they just buy a house. And they don't truly understand what their options are and what they're missing out on. And more importantly, they don't understand the contract itself. So my job is to make sure that you're not only educated on the contract, but that we implement the ways that we can to make sure that we save all the headaches of the major problems that so many people experience that come along with new construction. As someone myself who's had a deep background in the construction industry, as well as renovating homes for many, many years, this has proven to be one of the most valuable things that I can offer to my clients. And I've gotten so much incredibly great feedback from clients about this very thing. And moving on, the next thing that you really need to know is understanding the pricing behind new construction. In other words, you've got to go beyond the base price. When you see a new construction home being advertised as being sold in the high 500s, what you really need to know is, what are people actually spending on that home? It's likely closer to $640,000. It's likely so because so many people are upgrading their homes. Almost everybody does, because the builder is pricing the product to move right out of the gate. And so everything is stripped down to the very basics, which very few people actually end up going with. And that leads me into the next talking point, understanding customization and having a healthy, realistic expectation as to what you can achieve for the money. So if you're looking to buy new construction and you're considering a certain price point, you've got to also factor in the customization options and the things that you're likely going to be considering non-negotiable as things that you want in the home. And so for this reason, being a guide for my clients through the new construction process is something I truly am passionate about and enjoy. Okay, next up, these are other quick talking points that we've got to talk about. We've got to talk about the timeline of building a home in Utah. This can range anywhere from 4 months up to 14 months or more, depending on the size of the home. So understanding the timeline so that you have healthy expectations and realistic expectations as to when the home is built is crucial. Other things worth considering are understanding zoning laws and land use restrictions, as well as builder warranties. That's something you've got to understand before you get into the purchase of a new construction home. But you've also got to understand fully the importance of doing inspections, even on a new construction home. I cannot tell you how many things that I've found in new construction homes because we've done a proper inspection to make sure that we've got your back and protecting this asset that will be your new home for so many years to come. So one of the things that a lot of people really question is understanding the financing that goes behind purchasing a new construction home. This is also something that we do, and we can help compare all of the different builders one to another to see which one is the best fit for you, especially considering what it's going to take to actually finance the deal. So financing is a big part of the equation because ultimately, if you can't finance it, you're probably not going to be able to do it. And for that reason, this is something that we also play a heavy role in leading our clients down the right path to make sure that they're doing the right thing for them. But beyond the numbers and the math, we've got to understand also the importance of communities with amenities and other features that are making the lifestyle of living in that area truly appealing. Are there other places or points of interest that are specific to you, to your hobbies, to your lifestyle that you're going to want to factor in? Of course there are. Those are conversations that we have with everybody as they're making the move, because we want to make sure that you're not just picking a home, you're picking a home within a community that makes sense for you. And part of this comes down to understanding the different lot sizes. What are you getting for that extra land? What can you do with it? What's important to you? And it's also important to understand other things that are unique to that particular area. For example, what makes that neighborhood or those homes unique? What sets them apart from other areas? What makes that home and that community the best one for you? These are just some of the many questions I'll be asking as we navigate the process to make sure that you end up with an experience that puts you into a new home that you can find enjoyment in for a long time to come. And look, ultimately, the long-term investment potential for buying new construction in Utah is absolutely amazing. Utah is one of those markets where it almost always makes sense to buy a new construction home. It always has a big reward, a big payout on the back end, whether you choose to move 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 50 years from now. It doesn't really matter. Utah is a really great place to invest in purchasing a home. And if that's you, we want to make sure that we give you the best tips to make sure that you navigate the process as best as possible to make sure that your situation is catered to. But one of the top things that you've got to understand when buying a new construction home is understanding that you need a really good team that's got your back, that's representing your interest, and that comes in the form of a real estate agent and broker. I hope that's me. It obviously won't be for everybody, but if I've earned that trust by watching these videos here, I would love to ask you to reach out to us here. And if this is the type of content that really helps you, I would love it if you take just a moment and hit that subscribe button, because it helps me get in front of more people just like you. And ultimately, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Whether you're buying new construction or existing homes, we're here to guide you and help you through every step of the process to make sure that you end up exactly where you want to be. And you can find our contact information down in the description below, or you can book a video call with me in that link that you'll find in the pinned comment on this and every video. And if you want to learn more about life in Utah and the new construction market, check out these playlists next. And until the next video, thanks.